Okay, dear children, welcome to the first session of class 10, the first chapter, chemical reactions and equations. Let us first understand what's a chemical reaction. In very simple terms, it's defined as a process in which new substances with new properties are formed. So is a chemical change a chemical reaction? Of course. You are aware of so many chemical changes around you. The most common one being rusting of iron, ripening of fruits, milk changing into curd, burning of paper or fuel. These are all chemical changes, and a chemical change is a chemical reaction. Now look here. An example given over here is magnesium reacting with oxygen, giving you magnesium oxide. Understand, children? When I make use of words to write a reaction, you call it as a word equation. Here, an equation has got two sides. The left hand side, which is known as the reactants, and the right hand side, which is called the product. So here we have magnesium and oxygen on the left hand side, that is a reactant, and product on the right hand side, which is magnesium oxide. If you have more than two reactants, we separate them using a plus sign. Similarly on the product side also, but here we have only one product, and that is magnesium oxide. You can see an arrow mark over here. The arrowhead goes in the direction of the reaction towards the product. Okay. Let us now understand, how does a chemical reaction take place? How do I know that a chemical reaction has happened? There are a few activities listed. Let us go through it. The first one being burning of magnesium ribbon, which you are very well aware of. You have already done it in class 9, performed it in class 9. Magnesium is a reactive metal. It comes in the form of ribbons or strips. You have to heat it in flame, hold it with the help of a tongs. But before that, children, note this, you have to clean the magnesium ribbon before burning in air. That's because magnesium, being a very reactive metal, it reacts with oxygen in the atmosphere and gets a coating, white coating of magnesium oxide on its surface. You need to clear it off, or else it hinders the process of burning. Once you start burning it, immediate observation, a bright white light or a brilliant flame along with a white powder is formed, which is magnesium oxide. Two major observations, white flame and white powder. That means what? A new substance is produced and you have observed it. It's a chemical reaction. Let us go to the next reaction between lead nitrate and potassium iodide. Look carefully into this picture. Here in two beakers you can see two colorless solutions, one being that of lead nitrate and the other one potassium iodide. I mix both of them. Look into the beaker. I can see a color change. A solid is being formed, and in the third picture you can see the solid settle down because it is insoluble in nature. In chemistry, an insoluble solid is called a precipitate. So here also a chemical reaction has taken place. Why? What is the obvious observation? A new substance is formed with a color change. Yes. Let's go to the third activity listed in your book. It's a reaction between metal zinc and a dilute acid. Here we go with sulfuric acid. Again, this also you have performed it. We have got a conical flask in which we have taken zinc granules, zinc metal in the granulated form. Dilute sulfuric acid is added to it. There is a cork which is fitted with a glass tube, and you seal the conical flask. So now when we start off the reaction, the moment you mix both the reactants, you can find bubbles arising from the surface of zinc metal. That is an indication that there is an observation, there is a chemical reaction taking place because there is evolution of gas. We now try to test the gas, bring a burning splinter over here. It's put off with a pop sound. Very clear, you know the gas evolved as hydrogen. So again, we know a chemical reaction has taken place because a gas is evolved, and there is also change in temperature, children. When I touch the flask, it is hot. That means heat is released during this reaction. So now, can I say all these observations will tell me that a chemical change or a chemical reaction has taken place? Yes, definitely. What are those changes? You will find a change in state. When I say change in state, I mean here solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. For example, burning of petrol. Petrol is a fuel in the liquid state. When it burns, it releases carbon dioxide and water vapor, both in the gaseous form. Or you burn solid wax. Your paraffin wax is a solid. Again, when it burns, it releases carbon dioxide and water vapor in the gaseous form. You can have change in color. We have seen an activity right now wherein yellow precipitate is formed. Or the most common one, children, you are aware of, rusting of iron. Iron is a grey metallic solid, and when it rusts, it gets a flaky brown substance or coating on its surface. So there is a color change. Next, evolution of gas. We have seen evolution of hydrogen gas when a metal reacted with an acid. You also are aware about evolution of carbon dioxide gas whenever a carbonate reacts with an acid, and carbon dioxide comes out with a brisk effervescence. Change in temperature. Heat can be evolved during the reaction. The apparatus in which you have done will become hot, or there can be heat absorbed. The apparatus becomes cold. You can have quicklime in water. Okay, you will be learning it further in the next session. Quicklime is calcium oxide. When we put it on water, a violent reaction happens and there is evolution of heat. So those changes will tell us whether a chemical reaction has taken place or not. Let us now understand few important terms and concepts that we are going to deal with. Chemical equation. I have just now mentioned that when I write an equation using words, we call it a word equation. For a chemical equation, it's a short method of representation, either by using symbols or by using formula. It's a short way of presenting it. Now this chemical equation can be in two forms. You can either have a balanced equation or an unbalanced equation. An unbalanced equation is also referred to as a skeletal equation. But children, always remember this: whenever you write a chemical reaction, it has to be balanced. But why? Because we follow the law of conservation of mass, which states that mass can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So always you need to mention or write a balanced chemical equation. Now here I have written a chemical equation using symbols, and this is balanced equation. 2 magnesium plus O2 gives you 2 MgO, magnesium oxide. Okay, what makes a chemical equation more informative? There are some factors which contribute towards it. The first one being, when you write a balanced chemical equation mentioning the physical states. When I say physical states, I mean over here the gaseous state, the liquid state, solid state and an aqueous state. AQ represents the aqueous state. Aqueous in the sense you are preparing it in water medium. For example, look at this reaction. Iron in the solid state reacts with copper sulfate in aqueous medium. What does this mean? I have taken blue colored copper sulfate salt, dissolved it in water and prepared in an aqueous medium. It gives me ferrous sulfate in the aqueous medium because water is a medium, and with a deposit of reddish brown color copper which is in the solid state. So if I mention the physical states in a balanced chemical equation, I am making it more informative. What's the second condition? Next, there are some reactions, children, which will need certain conditions, in the sense that you may have to raise the temperature, you may have to heat it, you may have to add on a catalyst, you may have to maintain certain pressure. All that is mentioned on the arrowhead in a chemical equation. And when I mention that, my equation becomes even more informative. For example, silver chloride in the solid state gives me metallic silver in solid state, chlorine gas, okay, in the gaseous form. This reaction can happen only in the presence of sunlight, and that is what I have mentioned over here. So my equations can become informative if I mention the physical state as well as the conditions which are required to make it informative. Next, very important part of this chapter, we come to balancing of equation, and you're going to love it, children, because here this method is known as a hit and trial method. We're just trying on what's possible and what's not possible. But before that, we need to follow certain rules. First one, you will be given a word equation. Like for example, here iron plus steam gives you iron oxide plus hydrogen. Recall, I have said that when you write it in words, it becomes a word equation. So your first step is translate this into a chemical form. First step, for example, I will show it to you. Yeah. See, the word equation is converted into or translated into the chemical form using formulas. Iron Fe, steam is nothing but water in the gaseous form. H2O, iron oxide. Mind you, children, this iron oxide is the magnetic form of iron oxide. it is Fe3O4 and hydrogen gas H2. So we have done with the second rule. The third rule, you have to put boxes around each formulae. You have to put boxes around each formulae. Now this is only for the beginning children. Once you are very much experts in balancing, you can avoid this step, and I am sure you are going to be very experts. So you put boxes around each formulae. What does it mean? I am not going to touch anything inside this box. No changes to be made inside the box. Whatever I have to do in this sense, I have to write numbers or coefficients. I will do it here on the left side of the box. I should not change anything inside the box. I hope children this is very clear. After that, you have to list the elements both on the left hand side as well as the right hand side. What are the elements present in this equation? I have Fe, I have listed it. Hydrogen, H, mind you, it's an element. H is an element, H2 is a molecule. So when I ask you to list the element, you have to list only the element. Oxygen, O, elemental form of oxygen, O. After that, we have to count the number of atoms of each element on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side. Now let us look at that. Iron on the left hand side, I have got only one. I write it over here. Please pay attention to the black lettered markings, okay? Iron on the right hand side, Fe3, so it is 3 atoms. Go to the next element, hydrogen. Hydrogen on the left hand side, H2. This 2 belongs to hydrogen. So I write it here, 2. Hydrogen on the right hand side, very obvious and clear, 2. The next element, oxygen. Oxygen on the left hand side, only 1. When we don't have any number near it, it is considered as 1. So oxygen is 1. Here oxygen inside the box over here is O4. That means I have 4 atoms. So 4. So my next task is also done. I have listed the elements, counted the number of atoms and written it down. What next? Now select the compound that has got maximum number of atoms in it. And I select iron oxide and I start off with oxygen because it has got maximum number of atoms, 4. 4 on the right hand side, so I have to make oxygen 4 on the left hand side. I cannot do anything inside the box. I cannot write anything here also, mind you children. The only option left for me is to write a 4 here. Yes, I have done it. I write a 4 here, so that means on my left hand side also it has become 4. Right hand side is already 4. My left hand side also becomes 1. That is indicated, 4. That is indicated by I cancelled off 1 and made it 4. I write a 4 here. So my oxygen is balanced on the left hand side as well as right hand side. Let me go to the next one, iron. Fe3, 3 on the right hand side. Okay, 3 on the right hand side. Come to the left hand side. I have to make this 3. There is no other option but to write a 3 over here, and I have done it. So 1 over here becomes 3, as simple as that. So my iron also gets balanced. The last element that is remaining is hydrogen. Now when I wrote a 4 here children, my hydrogen becomes 4 into 2, 8. When I've got numbers like this diagonally, you have to multiply them. So hydrogen over here on the left hand side becomes 8. Okay. So now I have to go to the right hand side and make this 8. How do I make this 2, 8? Only one option available. I put a 4 here. I write a 4 here. So this becomes 4 into 2, 8. So on the left hand side as well as right hand side, my hydrogen gets balanced. My work is done. Let me now have a check. 3Fe, write on the balanced equation. 3Fe plus 4H2O gives you Fe3O4 plus 4H2. Let us quickly count back. 3Fe, Fe3, done. Hydrogen 4 2s are 8. Hydrogen 4 2s are 8. Finish. Oxygen 4. Now this 4 is common. It belongs to both the elements. It belongs to hydrogen as well as oxygen. Oxygen 4, oxygen 4. Fantastic. My balancing is done. I hope you have understood this. Take one more example, a simpler one. Hydrogen plus oxygen gives you water. Hydrogen H2, my first step, translate the word equation into a chemical equation. H2 plus O2 giving me H2O. What's the next step? I'm going to draw boxes. What does that imply? I'm not going to change anything inside the box. Whatever I do, I shall write it over here on the left hand side of the box. Fine. The next step, I have to list out the elements both on the left hand side as well as the right hand side. What are the elements present here? H. Again, I'm telling you, I'm talking about an element. H is an element. H2 is a molecule. So when you list, it will be only H. Element H, element O. Okay? Now left hand side. Come to the left hand side. How many atoms of H? 2. Okay? Right hand side, how many? 2. Done. Oxygen on the left hand side, 2. I have written it here. Oxygen on the right hand side, I have told you when there are no numbers involved, it means 1. Now here it is very simple, children. My hydrogen is already in the balance form. That means I have to start off with oxygen. Oxygen 2 over here on the left hand side. Oxygen 1 over here on the right hand side. How do I make this oxygen 2? Very easy. Put a 2 here. See? When I write a 2 here, my oxygen on the right hand side also becomes 2. So I cancelled off that 1 and made it 2. So oxygen on the left hand side and right hand side is 2. Now let me look at hydrogen. What has happened to hydrogen? When I write a 2 here, my hydrogen becomes 4. 2 into 2, 4. So I make it 4 on the right hand side because I've said you this 2 is common to both hydrogen as well as oxygen. So my hydrogen on the right hand side becomes 4. Come back to the left hand side. How do I make this 4? Fantastic. I just have to write a 2 over here. I put a 2 over here, coefficient 2, 2 2s are 4. So I change it over here, it becomes 4. So my equation is now in the balanced form. 2H2 plus O2 gives you 2 water. Let us quickly check around. Hydrogen, 2 2s are 4. Hydrogen, 2 2s are 4. Done. Left hand side equal to right hand side. Oxygen O2, oxygen 2. Okay, because this 2 is common, it belongs to hydrogen as well as oxygen. So that means this is also a balanced equation. Let's go to the next one, children. Lead nitrate plus potassium iodide giving lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Word equation translated into the chemical form. This is an example where a polyatomic ion is involved. Whenever a polyatomic ion is involved, take it as a whole, one whole. Do not split it. So let us list the elements: Pb, lead, potassium, iodide, and the entire polyatomic ion in the nitrate form, NO3. You have learnt what it is in class 9. Now left hand side, right hand side, list out the number of atoms. Lead on the left hand side 1, right hand side 1. Okay, done. Potassium on the left hand side 1, right hand side 1. That is also done. Iodine on the left hand side 1, right hand side it is 2. So I made it 2. And nitrate on the left hand side I have got 2. This 2 belongs to nitrate and not to lead. Nitrate on the right hand side is 1. Another rule, remember, whenever you have a polyatomic ion, start balancing off that first. I start with nitrate, here it is 2. Here it is 1. So I have to make this 2. I write a 2 here. Coefficient 2 here. So my nitrate on the left hand side was already 2. I made it 2 on the right hand side also. Okay, then what next? When I write a 2 here, my potassium becomes 2. So come back here, I have to make this 2. So I write a 2 here. So potassium on the left hand side and right hand side, from 1 it changes to 2 and 2. What next? Iodine becomes 2. Look at this iodine, it's 2 over here. Iodine is already 2, so automatically iodine gets balanced. That's fantastic. And then lead, there is no change in it. It was 1 here, it is again 1 here. So my balancing of the third equation is also done. Let me cross check. Lead 1, lead 1. Nitrate, the whole polyatomic ion 2. Nitrate 2. Mind you, this this 2 belongs to potassium as well as nitrate. Potassium 2, iodine 2, iodine 2. Done. My equation gets balanced. So I hope you have understood balancing of equations. Try doing these questions, or you may refer to your NCERT text, page number 5, page number 15, from question numbers 5 to 8. Try doing all of them, and if you have doubts, get it back when our session starts in the school. Good day and thank you.